Hi, folks. Welcome to Money and Politics for March the 16th, 2021. We're going to be going over a number of things today. And of course, I wasn't able to touch base with you yesterday. I don't think there was any particularly big news, but I had to replace my modem. So hopefully it's going to be working a little bit better. It's still a little dicey. We're having some problem connecting it. But anyway, glad to be back with you on this eve of the actual St. Patrick's Day. I'm wearing a little bit of green. I really don't have a whole lot of green in my wardrobe, so happy St. Patrick's Day to you. And we're going to be going over a couple of things as far as some of the prices and things, and I'll try to make this relatively quick because I'm going to have to run out, and then I won't be able to be I doubt I'll be able to do something before the end of the day, which means I'm not going to be giving you the end of the day prices, but we'll get to where we are. Of course, so the big news I think for today is number one, that we had an announcement come out from Humbl, and I posted this, by the way, on my Twitter. So if you haven't, like I just showed you, follow me on Twitter. Here was an article that was posted this morning on Humbl announcing an agreement, and you can go through this, and they're announcing an agreement with the firm in Chile, and they go through a number of the details. Here's one of the things that I would take away from this that I think is significant. Brian Foote was quoted as saying here that while Humbl will not be selling the exclusive distribution rights to all 195 countries, we are keenly aware of the rapid scale we can achieve in certain regions through distribution partners. Their working history with brands like Booking Holdings, Airbnb, and Expedia gives us great confidence in the road ahead for Humbl as we enter the Latin America markets in the year ahead. And that was Brian Foote. And he was talking as far as their partnership with this firm that is mentioned in the headline. You see this right up on top. I believe that's pronounced Aurora, but I'm not sure. Group Ventures, and they are a Chilean company. And so as we know, or anyone that's been following the Humbl story, they're going to be working in the Latin America as one of the main target areas that they're going to be pursuing the rollout of Humbl products. And it says here goes into the agreement that the payment for the shares is due on or before March 30th, 2021, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to read the whole thing. My point is this. I think, as I just mentioned, that we are going to have Humbl be doing deals behind the scenes. And I either said this in a video or I said it in response to someone who was asking me what my thoughts were on Humbl and the price going down. And I just reminded them that, folks, we're still in the middle of the very first quarter of the company's existence. And what they are doing is working on the rollout. And this story is an example of what I was saying. Not to worry, there's things going on that we don't even know about. And I speculated that as Humbl had announced Tickery, they were probably doing other deals behind the scenes. And that's exactly what this article is about. Again, it's linked on my Twitter feed, so you can follow me on Twitter, or just look up, if you go to Twitter and subscribe, you'll see where I posted that. Or go to Yahoo Finance and look under the TSMPD symbol, and you'll have it come up. As we are here, as I'm taping this, with about 2 hours left to go in the market, we'll take a quick look. We have, I'm trying to find, I've got so many things open on the screen in front of me here. We have Humbl at the moment trading down 4 cents. I know it's always disappointing. It'd be wonderful if it was coming back up. So you can see it 282. But I think that my opinion will be that you have a lot of people that had a lot of money in it. I had a friend the other day call me, and he had purchased a lot back probably in January when I told him about it. And he called me yesterday and said, I got all out of Humbl. He said, I might get back in, but my wife and I had a lot of profit and had been going down. We just didn't want to see it go to nothing. Okay. Everyone has a different risk tolerance, and that's all I can kind of say about that. Some people can stand to watch something go down and others can't. And he had another stock that he wanted to put some money in, so he sold his Humbl. So my point of that is I think that when we see this price going down, that's some of what we see. We see people who are getting anxious and they're selling some of their stock, but I am not encouraging you to do that. Now, let me also go over to what we talked about the other day. High Tide, this is the marijuana stock that I followed up on with one of my viewers. And at the time that we first looked at this, it was 62.5 cents. Today, it is back to 61 cents, 61.83 cents, if you want to look at it that way. You can see at the chart, this has been moving flat for the day. If we look at a 5-day chart, it's up. So let's look at some of, let me bring up the other one I often have talked about is DIG. Oil and gas is down a bit today. You can see this is down almost $7, about a 5%, 4.83% down on DIG. I think it's just nothing of concern. It's more or less just the movement of the market. I would also say that let's take a look at the 5-day chart, and we'll look at, actually this is a 1-month chart, but it's a chart of the things that we've been looking at. So we have TSMP in red, and that is at the bottom down there. And then right above that in the green is forwardly. Then in the black is High Tide, the HITIF, and then in the purple is DIG. So you can see that of the last month, the best investment from a percentage basis is DIG, the oil and gas. And folks, what this shows you is why it's good to have some diversity, because you got oil and gas, you got marijuana, and then you've got both Humbl and forwardly. Obviously, they're more or less the same thing. So really, we got about 3 different things here. If you look at the 5-day chart, again, this is a High Tide. The marijuana is in black, and that would be good for the last 5 days, with forwardly at the bottom. In red, we got Humbl, and in purple, we've got the DIG. So one last chart. Let's go out, and here's where we see over the last 3 months, forwardly. Again, boy, it came way down. Well, it did, but you're still up. What is it? Almost 1,000% in forwardly. So that's kind of why I think my friend sold some of his. And even though we've been going through, ups and downs in the red of TSMP of Humbl, we're still up 370%, 200% on High Tide, and about 58% in DIG. All of those are great returns, folks. All of those are great returns, 3 months. And before we close out, let me just say that the thing is that I think going forward, what we're going to be seeing coming up is that we're going to have probably, I shouldn't say probably, we may be having more joint ventures coming out. And when we look at this deal that was announced today with the Chilean firm by Humbl, they want to grow as fast as they can. That's what this is telling us. And what they're saying, as I mentioned before in that announcement, where they said, we're not going to be doing exclusive rights to all the 195 countries, we are keenly aware of the rapid scale we can achieve in certain regions. And so what that's telling you is that Humbl, are looking to roll this out globally as fast as they can. Where it makes sense for them to give country rights, basically think of this as having a franchise area with a company that's well established there, instead of taking maybe a year or more to go into a region like South America, in the Chilean area, and the southern part of that continent, and trying to do it on your own. They're making a deal and saying, okay, you've got this territory, go to it, and we're going to work with you, and you've got the rights. So that's what Humbl's doing. That's what this is telling us, okay? We know we got the ticker coming up. I think we're going to, be having this rollout. I can't tell you. I don't know how much money they're making on their ETXs. I can't tell you anything about the earnings, but we're going to learn that in April. So what it does tell me is that when we look at the current price of Humbl, and we're looking at about $2.84, if you look at today's volume with 2 hours, a little bit less than 2 hours left to go in the day, where the average daily volume over the last 10 days is about 24, just under 24 million shares traded. With only 2 hours left to go, we've only traded less than 5.5 million shares today. So again, there's very little volume going on. A lot of people are just holding on to what they have, not panicking, not selling. You don't see this falling off the table. You see just a just kind of a going back and forth. Let's look at 5 days chart. Okay, we got the gradual decline. You got it up. It's just been kind of going down. I'm a little surprised that with the news today that the market didn't, if I go to a 1 day chart, I'm going to say that it didn't respond a little bit more. Maybe it did. Maybe that's where it was down here and fell off and then came back up. So I don't know. I think you got some people who just, as I said before, made too much money too soon in Humbl, and understandably they want to hang on to that. So that's what they're doing. The week ahead, right now, the FOMC, that's the Federal Reserve Open Market Committee, is meeting today and tomorrow, and then they're going to announce what they're going to be doing on interest rates. We'll have to see if they raise interest rates. That could send the overall market down, so you want to be aware of that. I don't know what they're going to do. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do anything, if they just decide at this point to do nothing, because if they raise rates, that is equivalent to a tax on the economy. And even if they did raise rates, it probably wouldn't be very much at all. Interest rates wouldn't be much, but it would have much more of a psychological impact, so you might see a sell-off. So you got to watch that. On anything you own, you got to watch what's going to happen in the overall economy. We don't talk a lot about politics here, but let me just throw in looking forward very briefly. Looking forward, I think we want to make as much money as we can this year, because we're going to have, as I've said before, the watchword is recovery. 2021, we're coming out of the doldrums of 2020 and the lockdown. It's one reason why I've been promoting having things like oil and gas. And a quick look again here on DIG. You can also look at Gush. Gush is cheaper. On DIG, we're at 131. It came down from about 142. But again, as I've said before, I was recommending this back November at 62. So we're up still about 100% from then in just about 4 months. But it still, I think, is the story. This might, who knows where it's going to go. It could go to 140, could go to 150, could go to 175. We're going to be using more oil and gas over the next year, folks. There's almost no getting around that. So going forward, my concern is more for next year, 2022, 2023. If the Biden administration tries to raise taxes, that would be bad news. I don't think the market would respond very well to that. I'm not sure that they could get it passed. If you follow politics at all, you know that the Democrats in the House have a very, very slim majority. It's the slimmest majority in like the last 100 years for the Democrats. And in the Senate, it's a 50-50 tie. The only reason the Democrats have any control over the Senate is because of the vote of the vice president. So if the Democrats lose just one senator, then they're not going to be able to get a tax increase through. And there are a number of senators on the Democratic side of the aisle in the Senate that might want to block a tax increase, may not want to be there on record voting for it. I could go through the names, but basically there's about 3 or 4 of them that I could think of. So the point is, we got to watch out for tax increases. We got to watch out for inflation. This is what the Federal Reserve Committee, the FOMC it's called, is going to be looking at. I think going forward, although this is not going to be a dramatic increase in inflation, but going forward, we're going to see it build up over the next 3 years or so. To put this in context, we have been at historically low interest rates. The normal interest rate environment should be somewhere between 5% to 8%. So when we are, getting house loans at about 3%, it's just, as I say, it's unheard of. It's the lowest in my lifetime. And that's just not going to last, which is, by the way, why you do not want to be buying bonds here. We don't talk about bonds, but I'll just say that. Do not buy bonds. So the long and short of it is, to wrap this up, we're on a holding pattern on Humbl. I think you'll look back. I am saying you do what you want to do. You make the decisions of buy or sell. I think you're going to look back in a couple of months and go, why didn't I buy it when it was at $2.82? Because they're just going to be growing, and we see this. We see the evidence. Okay, we see it in the announcement today. We see it in the purchasing of Tickery, and we're going to get those financial statements coming up in April. I think we're going to have an increase in oil. I think the interest rates are probably either going to stay where they are, or if they are raised, they will be raised very slightly. Going forward, to position yourself for inflation, you can buy certain things. Look at ETFs in gold, silver, copper, probably some other things I should look at, but those are a couple right off the commodities that are used in industrial manufacturing. All of those would be things that would be inflationary hedges. I think the threat of inflation at this point is more feared than a reality. Down the road, it could become a problem, but we'll take a look at that later. But for now, I'm going to let you go. I already went pretty long here, and sorry I wasn't able to touch base with you yesterday. Hope you have a great St. Patrick's Day. If you're going to go out with friends, enjoy, and we'll keep an eye on the market. And until tomorrow, we'll be saying goodbye, and have a great day, everyone.